Welcome to LearnCity. My name is Praise and I'm your mathematics tutor. In our previous videos, in our previous classes, we've talked about change of subject or family, the rules of changing of subject or family, and we've solved questions on change of subject or family. And today we'll be moving to a new topic, and our topic today is variation. Our topic today is variation. We'll be explaining what variation is, the types of variation, solving examples of each of the variation, the types of variation, the word problems between them. Now, today we're talking about variation. Now, what is variation? Variation basically means proportionality, when one number is in proportion with another number. Variation basically means proportionality, in which it means that there is a relationship between two different entities. There is a relationship between two different entities. That is variation, in which two or more numbers are in direct relationship with each other arithmetically. Now, what am I saying? Variation is when two numbers are in conjunction with each other. For example, we have C equals to K. Two numbers are connected together by an equals sign. Now, for variation, what is used to detect variation is by the form of this. Now, this is our symbol for variation. And this also equals to K, in which this is constant. It is a constant number that brings the two numbers together. It is the constant number that brings the two numbers together. When there is a relationship between two different numbers by a constant, through a constant, the relationship between two different numbers through a constant. Now, we have four different types of variation. We have the direct variation, we have the inverse variation, we have the partial variation, and we have the joint variation. Four different types of variation. Now, for the direct variation, the first one, direct variation. Direct variation is denoted as C varies directly as M. C varies directly as M, where C is now equals to Km. This is for direct variation. C varies directly as M, where C is equals to Km. Now, for inverse variation, inverse variation is the opposite of direct variation. Just as direct is equals to, inverse is now the opposite of direct variation, whereby if two numbers vary directly with each other, inverse variation talks about that it's two numbers are in direct variation with each other in the opposite way. Now, when we have C varies inversely as M, this is how to denote an inverse variation. C varies inversely as M. So we have it to be C equals to K into brackets 1 over M, where C is equals to K over M. C is equals to K over M. That is for inverse variation. Now, the third one, which is partial variation. Partial variation, partial variation, partial variation, partial variation. Now, in talking about partial variation is quite different from direct variation and inverse variation. Just as you said earlier, that direct is when two numbers are joined together, and inverse variation is when it is the opposite of direct variation. Now, for partial variation, we have C. Okay, now let's pick an example. Let's pick an example of partial variation where we have it to be, okay, now partial variation. In partial variation, we have situations whereby it is partly constant and it partly varies. Partly constant and partly varies. Partly constant and partly varies. Now we can say C is partly constant and partly varies with M. C is partly constant and partly varies with M. Partly constant and partly varies with M. So how do we do it? It is now equals to C is equals to K plus M. K plus M. That is for partial variation. C is equals to K plus M. C is equals to K plus M for partial variation. Now the last one, which is joint variation. Joint variation. Now, joint variation is quite different from direct variation, inverse variation, and partial variation. It is quite different. Now, joint variation picks three numbers. Now, for direct, inverse, and partial, we'll be using two numbers, which is C and M. But in the case of joint variation, we use three different numbers. We have C, M, and O. C, M, and O. Such a way that the correlation between them, the relationship between them explains how the three is together. Now, in this case, how do we pick the relationship between C, M, and O? Now, in this case, you have where C varies with M over O. Three numbers. C varies differently with M and O. So our C here is equals to K into brackets M over O. So our C here is Km over O. So we've explained how direct variation is, inverse variation is, partial variation is, and joint variation, giving examples on how they are, how their numbers are, how to solve them. And next class will be doing more on direct variation, giving examples and how to solve them. So to the next class where we'll continue. Do have a lovely day. Thank you.